When someone mentions Gravity Falls references or Easter eggs in other shows, chances are that they're referring to the more common and well-known references, like the many and older Rick and Morty episodes, Bill's cameo on The Simpsons, Amphibia's homage episode, references in The Owl House, and if you really know your references, that time Gravity Falls appeared in Wander Over Yonder. But they are not the sole shows to have Gravity Falls references or brief nods to it, and not only just shows and movies. In today's video, we'll be looking at Gravity Falls Easter eggs and other references that are far less known and probably forgotten about by the greater fandom. Now, in order to qualify as a proper GF reference, I'm employing a strict no eyes with triangles in them rule, or something that could easily be from another show or a general statement. I think a lot of GF fans forget that the Eye of Providence is a real thing that has been around long before Bill Cipher was even a concept, and it's something even Alex Hirsch has called out in the past. So unless the triangle has a hat on it, we will not be counting it. With that said, let's dive into the many Gravity Falls references and Easter eggs out there in other shows, movies, books, and more. Our first Gravity Falls reference in another show is also, as far as I can tell, the oldest. Mad was a comedy series on Cartoon Network that was based on the iconic Mad magazine. The series would have a various set of short animated segments that would delve into current events and pop culture references. On September 20th, 2012, only 3 months after Tourist Trapped had aired, the 10th episode of Season 3 of Mad, called Pokemon of Interest, premiered. The segment featured a secret agent going on a hunt for a Pokemon involved in a crime. However, take a look at what the man who assigned him the mission said.
I also know every line from every episode of Gravity Falls. Huh? It's a show on Disney. It's pretty good. Whatever.
Yeah. He said he knew every single line from Gravity Falls, which at the time this episode came out, only 10 had aired. So that's probably not too surprising. This is not all though. During a segment showing the faces of various individuals in a government database, Dipper, Mabel, and Stan can be seen. Additionally, on a board behind the man in his office, you can see photos of Dipper, Stan, Seuss, and Wendy, all with lines going to a center image of Mabel, with the words Gravity Falls on the top. Also, within the episode there's this one other direct mention.
You fool! You know nothing of Pokemon or Gravity Falls!
It's a rather forgotten reference to Gravity Falls, but a reference nonetheless, and the very first one in another TV show. We'll quickly gloss over this next reference as I mentioned it before in my 20 Facts video. Private Practice is a spin-off series of Grey's Anatomy, a show that everyone says is popular but I've never seen a single person admit to watching. Well, in the second episode of the show's final season called Good Grief, 2 of the characters can be seen watching cartoons on TV while having breakfast, and the cartoon they're watching just happens to be Gravity Falls. The episode specifically is Headhunters. This Private Practice episode came out 3 months after Headhunters, so I assume given it's an ABC show and ABC is of course owned by Disney, they just needed a cartoon to use in the background and use the first one from Disney that they could find, given they probably didn't want to pay for rights or something to use, I don't know, a Cartoon Network show. But it does give us a really funny yet strange first appearance of Gravity Falls in a live action show. Up next is a rather special obscure Easter egg. Running for 10 seasons, American Ride is a historical documentary series that aired on BYU TV from 2011 to 2016. The series followed the late Stan Ellsworth as he rode across the United States on his Harley Davidson, visiting historical locations that were major in American history. But today we're focused on one specific Easter egg that the show unintentionally ended up having. In the 7th episode of the show's 8th season, which aired on May 17, 2015, Stan travels to the Pacific Northwest to talk about the redwood forests there. While there, he pays a visit to the Trees of Mystery tourist attraction in Northern California. While looking out at the SkyTrail tramway from a viewing platform, you may just be able to make out a familiar shape on the side of the barrier. Yep, it's Bill Cipher. Now, what makes this Easter egg all the more incredible is not just the fact that Bill made a random cameo in an American history show, but more in regards to who left that bill. Because it was not left by some random fan that visited the Trees of Mystery and doodled a bill on there. It was left by Alex Hirsch himself. I've told the story before, but back in 2013, right after the show was renewed for a second season, Alex and the Gravity Falls crew took a 4-day road trip across the Pacific Northwest to various tourist traps. Called Mystery Tour, they left a bunch of Bill Cipher drawings along the way for fans to find. One of them happened to be this very bill that was left at the Trees of Mystery. So, Alex Hirsch managed to unintentionally slip his creation into a completely unrelated show when he came to the same location to film an episode there, 2 years later. Look at that, revisiting a show I swore I never would. But there is no denying the fact that Star vs. the Force of Evil was at one point the biggest Disney XD show. Post Gravity Falls but pre-Owlphobia, it ruled the Disney TVA waves. Now, it's worth mentioning that Star creator Darren Nefsey and Alex Hirsch are good friends. In fact, I think they even went to CalArts at around the same time, given Darren once shared some photos of her and Alex during those days. Anyways, it was therefore a given that there would be Gravity Falls references or Easter eggs in the show. And the first one occurred in the Season 2 episode called Starstruck. In the episode, which marked the first appearance of the character Amina Loveberry, who would totally not have any importance in the show later on, there is a rather familiar group of characters that appear. During a scene in the episode where they're at the Echo Creek mud pits, there's a group of tourists that can be seen in the background that look very familiar. These tourists, except for the one wearing the I Heard Mud shirt, are the very same tourists that we see at the start of Tourist Trap when Dipper is explaining in narration what the Mystery Shack is. This was actually funny enough, the very first time I remember people proposing the whole connected universe thing that is now very popular. Say what you want about Star, believe me, I have. But there is no denying that it did pioneer a lot of the theories and ideas that many shows since have popularized and expanded on. Alongside this, there was an instance of what appeared to be the gnomes from GF appearing in a Season 3 episode of Star, but then you can only really draw gnomes in so many ways, so I don't think this fully counts as a Gravity Falls reference. Before we move on though, I do want to mention one little bit of trivia that probably only my viewers who were in the Star fandom then may still remember. Does this screenshot from the show ring a bell to you? Oh, look at that! It's Dipper and Mabel. This proves it, right? Star and Gravity Falls are connected and set in the same universe. It's all huge and connected and... just kidding. Obviously, this is a fake screenshot, but believe me when I say that this thing fooled so many people back in 2017. This is made by an artist on Tumblr called Posting Just Whatever, and they made a few of these, where they edited the twins into various scenes from episodes of Star. I always love it when these fake images spread, because it always just shows you how many people actually bother doing research or have only just watched an episode once. Don't believe everything you hear on the internet, kids. When The Simpsons had Bill Cipher make a cameo on an episode, it marked the very first time a Gravity Falls character had appeared on another show in their original form and as themselves. It wasn't a character inspired by them like Amphibia or Wander, but the actual character. Well, actually, no, it was not the first time this happened, because it happened once before, on a show that likely none of you may remember or have even heard. Or maybe you do. Future Worm was a short-lived Disney XD series about, as the name suggests, a worm from the future. It seemed like a cool show, but it was sadly one of the many short-lived Disney XD shows that got lost under the channel's virtually dead from the get-go nature, and the overshadowing by Star's insanely huge and more focused PR. Anyways, in the Future Worm series finale, there's a scene where the characters travel through the multiverse if I'm correct, and very briefly, there's a cameo for various Disney XD shows at the time. So, Star makes a cameo, Wander makes a cameo, Pickle and Peanut apparently make a cameo, and yes, even Gravity Falls. They basically seem to have reused animation from Dungeons, and More Dungeons of Stan and the twins, but given Dipper moved his head over and basically looked to have acknowledged the Future Worm characters being there, that means that this was technically the first case of a Gravity Falls character as their original self and form appearing in another series and having some interaction in the episode. Even if it was just a look at it done by Dipper, it still counts in my books, and means that this forgotten little Disney XD show from the late 2010s secured its place in Gravity Falls history. Oh, if only they had promoted this show with half the level of PR that they gave to Star. Now, this is probably the newest show I have seen to have a Gravity Falls Easter egg in it that's not as well known, and it's something that had me wondering how it even happened. A while back, I saw someone on Reddit post about this PBS Kids show that had a rather unexpected item appear in it. The series in question is called Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum. Starting in 2019 and still airing to this day, the series follows a kid named Xavier Riddle, his sister, and best friend. In every episode, the kids face a problem that they try to then solve using the Secret Museum, which is a hidden room at their regular museum. There, they travel back in time to meet historical figures who helped them solve these problems, and in the process, they witness important moments in history that made these people well known. They then use what they learned to solve their problems. It's a pretty straightforward kids show, but instead of focusing on the overdone kids show stuff like numbers, letters, or whatever else, the show teaches kids about history and how various regular people are able to change the world. Anyways, in the episode called I Am James Naismith, which focuses on the Canadian inventor who invented basketball, there's this scene where the kids are in the museum and lose a ball that they're playing with. And well, look what appears. Yep, Journal 3 is just casually floating on a shelf at the secret museum next to some guy's watch, a comb, and a goddamn fish. My best guess personally is that someone on the show's animation team was a fan of Gravity Falls, and given the show's focus on inventions and history, probably felt it was fitting to have the journal be there too. Additionally, we could go a little bit further and argue that in the universe that the show is set in, this is a dimension where Ford did publish his research and became a well-regarded scientist, and then his original journals got moved to the museum and eventually a secret museum. Then again, I may just be overanalyzing a PBS kids show. Hey, I'm a Gravity Falls fan. Overanalyzing is what we do. Now, there are a couple of smaller references and Easter eggs that happen in a few other shows and a movie, which I'm gonna do a quick fire round of now. In the season 1 episode of DuckTales 2017 called Beware the Buddy System, a sticky note of Bill Cipher can be seen while Launchpad is driving. This isn't too surprising though, as many ex-Gravity Falls crew members moved to work on it after the show had ended. In the season 2 episode of Big City Greens known as Present Tense, a brief background scene shows a claw machine full of plushes of various Disney TVA characters. Alongside Bill, there's a plush of Sprig, King, Wander, Star, and Barry the Platypus! In the 2022 film Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, there's various references to movies and shows, and among the many background characters that appear, Dipper is also there. So while the film didn't really hit any major theaters due to the pandemic and went straight to Disney+, Dipper did in a way make his big screen debut. Finally, although Alex Hirsch said that Inside Job did not have many references to Gravity Falls in it, and was separate, there were two direct references to the show in the series. First, there was this literal drawing of Bill Cipher on a board that can be seen in the security camera footage in the background of the episode Clone Gunmen. And in the episode Blue Bloods, there's a girl that can be seen wearing Dipper's exact attire from shirt and vest to shorts and even socks like his, except for the hat, of course. Now, while there were a few other cases of stuff that people assumed were inspired by Gravity Falls in the show like the town of Still Valley and Barrow, they're more debatable. So now, with that said, let's move on from TV shows and movies and look at a few graphic novels that gave a nod to our favorite little cartoon. Okay, so this is going to be one of the only times I ever talk about My Little Pony on this channel. Now, as far as I can tell, Gravity Falls never had a direct reference in the show about it, but in the 5th issue of the comic series for the show by IDW Publishing, look who makes an appearance. Yep, it's a Mabel pony wearing her shooting star sweater. It also has her hairstyle, the shooting star symbol as that Mark Dingle ponies have, which I had to ask my sister about given I forgot what it's called, and while I doubt it was intentional, the Mabel pony is also purple, which is canonically Mabel's favorite color. Alex Hirsch even jokingly called out My Little Pony creator Lauren Faust in a tweet about it and threatened to sue her. Moving on to references in comic books, I apologize in advance to all my viewers who are Marvel or DC fans, as I might be about to make you cringe from my lack of knowledge on most of what I'm about to say. In issue number 41 of Batman Eternal from 2015, Dipper and Mabel can be seen in it. Now, from what I read, it seems the story follows a series of nanobots that are infecting and brainwashing children, and given that, non-lethal force must be used. Hence why in this one panel of what looks like Red Hood shooting Dipper, he's actually using rubber bullets. Apparently. Also, Mooring Mark made art of Mabel punching him as well, so that's cool, I think. Also, if you look in the panel, you'll notice that Mabel has 6 fingers, so now her and Ford have something to bond over. Joe Quinones was the penciler for this issue. He's pretty well known for working on various DC and Marvel comics. And speaking of Marvel, it just so happens that he was also responsible for bringing Gravity Falls into the Marvel universe as well. In issue number 4 of the 2015 Howard the Duck comic series which he worked on, the cover of the issue has Bill Cipher chilling inside of a book. And that's not all. In issue number 1 of the 2016 comic series, Howard almost got into a fight at a gas station with, of all people, Seuss. Apparently, in this universe, Seuss is a trucker who hates socialists. Yeah, I don't know either. The only real difference is that there's an exclamation mark on his shirt instead of a question mark and, the other stuff. I think Joe was a huge Gravity Falls fan and snuck a few references to it into whatever comic he worked on. I also reached out to him on Twitter about it, but he never got back to me. Oh, and speaking of ducks, Donald Duck also mentions Gravity Falls in the 406th issue of the Uncle Scrooge comics. But now, moving on, let's look at not superhero or Disney-focused graphic novels and comics in which Gravity Falls appeared in. Irma is a popular comic series on Webtoons. I personally don't know much about it, but it's a widely acclaimed and popular series. However, in this 31st strip of the series, posted on the 22nd of February 2016, the comic pays what I assume is a mini homage to Gravity Falls. In it, Irma is seen on the same bus that Dipper and Mabel are on as they head home to Piedmont. Given the supernatural element the comic series has, and the fact that this came out 7 days after the finale did, it seems like Irma might have fit into the Gravity Falls universe if she was there. Giant Days is another comic series that ran from 2015 to 2019. In the background of the series' 28th issue, take a guess who appears in the background of a single panel. I guess Blendon found his way out of Time Dodge and into another universe. This next reference is one you'll likely know if you follow my YouTube shorts. Releasing in September 2017, Dawn and the Impossible 3 is the 5th installment of the Babysitter Club's graphic novel series. On one of the pages, there's a scene of a messy room covered in toys, food, toilet paper, and more. But, as I'm sure you all can see, in the midst of it all, there's a certain little Bill Cipher plushie laying on the floor with his hat nearby. A rather funny but subtle nod to GF by one of the book's illustrators who I assume was a Gravity Falls fan. Our final book reference for now comes from a graphic novel series that began in 2020, and I gotta thank my friend RayGGTV for letting me know about this. Aster and the Accidental Magic follows a girl named Aster who, as per the book synopsis, moves to the middle of nowhere with her family. Sounds nice, honestly. There, she meets an old lady who gives her a dog, and I guess some magical stuff happens, and look, if you want to learn more about it, go watch Ray's video. Long story short, the series has a lot of elements to it that are very Hilda-like, and something I in turn personally love seeing. Stories set in the middle of nowhere are always a lot of fun, and follow Hilda Bible, of course. But we're getting off track. At the start of this book, Aster is looking for clothes to wear before going outside. While she's throwing out the stuff she does not want to wear, she yeets away a rather familiar looking pink sweater with a shooting star symbol on it. Yep, it's Mabel's. I guess the team on Aster were also fans of Gravity Falls and snuck in a little nod to it. That, or maybe they wanted to take a jab at it given Aster does say it's gross. Aster is a Mabel hater confirmed. Either way, those are several of the Gravity Falls references out there in books. But we're not done just yet, as Gravity Falls has also had cameos in videos of YouTubers who you probably both know about, and also may be surprised to hear about. You probably know of Nostalgia Critic's various Gravity Falls themed videos, but he's not the only YouTuber who's made videos with GF themes or Easter eggs in it. In a video titled Grave Mistake by Tim Allenby, the names of Dipper and Gideon can be briefly seen on a list of people that the Grim Reaper is planning to kill on that day. So apparently Dipper is a dead man walking. Gravity Falls has also made brief cameos in various animation YouTuber videos. For example, in her video My Childhood Stories, Jaden Animation mentions a story about how one time at the park, she was confused by a lady of being some other kid, whose name was Mabel. When she mentions how because of the confusion, the real kid named Mabel probably got into serious trouble over it, she shows Mabel being grounded and, lo and behold, she's wearing our Mabel's iconic shooting star sweater. Brief side note, this video is actually how I ended up discovering Jaden, as this Easter egg she hid kind of went viral in the fandom back in 2017 when I was new. Pretty cool. However, she's not the only one. Rebecca of Let Me Explain Studios has hit a fair amount of Gravity Falls references in her videos, on top of making a literally Gravity Falls themed video once. In one of her question answer videos, you can see a character dressed up as Dipper. And, in her Backyard Stories video, there's a scene where a piggy bank is seen, and it is modeled after Waddles. What's more, in her Daycare Stories video, Gideon can briefly be seen alongside Luz and Anne. Rebecca is also a longtime Gravity Falls fan and even has made a bit of fan art for the show back in the day, which can still be found on her Twitter. Now, I know there's many other YouTubers who have referenced and thrown Easter eggs out there for Gravity Falls in their videos, and honestly, going over all of them probably would end up making this video much longer than it already is. So, let me just briefly mention the fact that Gravity Falls has inadvertently appeared in videos made by the biggest YouTuber of all. That's right, Mr. Beast. Hey guys, it's me in the future as I'm editing this video and this specific part, and I think I had to explain something very quickly before I get a ton of comments from people asking me if I've been living under a rock for these past few months. This video has been long overdue in releasing. I originally planned it in August of 2023, wrote the script that September, and then recorded all the stuff you've been hearing me say till now and after this intermission between November and February of 2023 and 2024 respectively. So obviously this video was written and recorded nearly a year ago. It got delayed because of stuff like classes going on, I was busy with working on the Alex Hirsch interview. And then later because of the Book of Bill hype, this video sort of got shelved till now. And of course, within that time, Mr. Beast has, well, you know, he's had a pretty interesting year to put it lightly. And the situation regarding Jimmy is far beyond something I as a Gravity Falls channel really am qualified to talk about. I mean, this channel is called Dat GFN, not Dat Daily Commentary Drama Slop Fan. And so because of that, I did debate about what to do with this part, but at the end of the day, Mr. Beast is still, as of right now, the biggest YouTuber on the planet, and these unintentional GF Easter eggs in his videos did still happen, so I've elected to still talk about them and leave these parts in as they were intended to be in the video. But in light of the stuff surrounding Mr. Beast, I'm not going to mention it outside of this part of the video, or even add a Mr. Beast related tag or mention in the thumbnail just cause, you know. But anyways, that's why you're now about to hear me talk about Mr. Beast in this video. I recorded this stuff when he was still, you know, liked by a majority of people. But with that said, back to the video. Believe it or not, Gravity Falls has snuck into the background of some of Jimmy's videos too. Way back before he went viral, in an old video of his titled Savage Level 9000, you can briefly see Journal 3 and Curse of the Time Pirate's treasure for sale. That's more of an accidental appearance though, so I'm not sure if we can really count that as a purposeful Easter egg. However, what if I was to tell you that Bill Cipher somehow slipped into a Mr. Beast video? Back when Jimmy did his first $1 million challenge video, he did it in 4 parts, in which the winners of those videos would then get to compete for $1 million. In the third part, Last to Leave Toilet, one of the contestants can be seen wearing a Bill Cipher necklace. He didn't win the challenge sadly, but I salute you good sir for repping Gravity Falls on Mr. Beast. Finally, and this video was on his gaming channel, Jimmy hosted a $50,000 talent show on VRChat. At one point in the video, Carl changed his avatar to be Dipper and kept it like that for a good while in the game. This was the most direct reference to Gravity Falls in a Mr. Beast video. I don't know if Carl just picked Dipper because it was a character option or because he actually is a Gravity Falls fan for real, but either way it was kinda cool to see. But anyways, to conclude, let me just go over some other little random cameos that Gravity Falls has had into some media that doesn't necessarily fit into any of the previous categories that we've mentioned. At 1 minute and 52 seconds, in the music video of the song Where Are You Now, with Justin Bieber in it, Bill Cipher is briefly visible. The video has 1.2 billion views, so essentially that means that over 1 billion people have somehow managed to see Bill, albeit very briefly. There's also a Gravity Falls reference in level 17 of the game Trollface Quest TV Shows. I don't know at all what that is. Also, a character that looks kinda like Grunkle Stan appears in the game Adventure Capitalist, and finally, a book resembling Journal 3 was spotted in the game Stray. And that more or less is all I got. Of course, there are many more references to Gravity Falls that are out there in other games, TV shows, videos, and more. But again, if we were to go over all of them, we'd be here for a long while. And even then, I'd probably miss some. The point of this video is not to go over every single Gravity Falls reference or Easter egg in other media, but instead to give a few of their lesser known ones the spotlight they were deserving of. A show's legacy can often be seen by how much of an impact it had on other people. For some, it can be the basis of a whole hobby or a career, and for others, it can be so impactful that they take the time and effort to give it a subtle but noticeable mention or cameo in their own work. Maybe sometimes it's more satirical rather than genuine, but if nothing else, it lets new eyes see it, and in turn, open it up to a new generation of viewers. I mean, consider this. We're getting very close to the time when the generation of people who grew up watching Gravity Falls will be making their own TV shows and movies. and it'll be quite a sight to behold if any of them include a reference to the show in their own work. In the same way Alex Hirsch was inspired by shows like The Simpsons and Twin Peaks, there's animators out there right now who, in a few more years, when asked what show inspired them to make what they did, will probably mention our favorite little Disney Channel cartoon from 2012, about two twins spending one fascinating summer in a sleepy little Oregon town. And that is a legacy unlike any other to have. This has been a .gfn Presents video, and thank you for watching.